This wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And it wasn't just the hunger that killed them. It was the darkness in the decisions they made. Decisions that haunt us to this day. In February 1847, a rescue party made its way to Donna Pass, a stretch of the Sierra Nevada mountains. What they found, only half of the party they had been sent to rescue had made it. The rest, gone. And that's worse. The survivors, they were changed physically, mentally, spiritually. But it wasn't just the brutal cold or the savage snowstorms that tore them apart. No, it was the point where they crossed a line that no human should ever cross. And you can guess what that is. So, how does a group of pioneers set off with hope and end up with nothing but shattered dreams and empty stomachs? A journey meant to be the start of something new, something great, instead becomes a nightmare no one could have predicted. The Donna Party didn't just get lost in the mountains. They got lost in desperation, the kind of desperation that make you wonder, could I survive something like that? They left in April 1846, 87 souls, full of optimism, heading for California. They were the best of best, they thought, resilient, strong, ready to take on the West. But there's a problem. When you are venturing into the unknown, not everything is as it seems. Enter a guy named Lance Pard Hastings. This guy, he writes a book, right? A guide he tells everyone. Hey, there's a shortcut you can take. Skip the rough long path. The Hastings cut off. It's gonna save you time, trust me. That was the first mistake. No one, not a single person could have known how much that shortcut was going to cost them. The party led by George Donner takes the bat. They split off from the main trail. They thought they were ahead of the game, but they were running straight into disaster. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. They were pushing through what feels like endless wilderness. No one tells you about this part of the story. The uncertainty, the time spent staring at each other, not knowing if the next day will be their last. And then went ahead. The Sierra Nevadas don't play. The group had just barely reached the mountains when the snowstorm came. And it wasn't just snow. It was cabin fever, the kind that messes with your mind. And that's when things went sideways. No one was prepared for this. No one had a clue. Suddenly, the wagons were stuck. Nowhere forward, nowhere back. Only snow and cold and nothing. No food, no way to escape the storm. And that's when the cracks began to show. First, it was the usual arguments, fights, frustration. But then, something far darker. The hunger. That gnawing, suffocating hunger. People started disappearing. And that's when the unthinkable happened. You see, survival isn't just about food. It's about ethics, about morals, about what you are willing to lose to stay alive. And for the Donner Party, that line was crossed in the most horrifying way possible. The survivors didn't just eat the bodies of those who had died. They scavenged. They gathered what they could. They became monsters not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And that, my friends, is the dark truth behind the Donner Party. They didn't just lose their lives. They lost everything. Their humanity, their dignity, their hope. And in the end, the question remains, how far would you go to survive? But here's the kicker. The one who survived, they didn't get out unscathed. How could they? No one can come back from that, right? You can survive the cold, the snow, the hunger. But what about the ghosts? The ghosts of decisions that live with you forever. The ones who made it to safety physically, they were alive. But inside, they were changed. The trauma of what they had done, what they had been through, it broke them. And when the rescuers arrived, there was nothing but a frozen silence. No more stories of the brave pioneers looking for new beginnings. Just cold, just no, just the bodies left behind. And in the eyes of those who had made it, something that can't be unseen. So, next time you think about the American frontier, remember the donor party. Remember that sometimes it's not just the elements that will break you. It's the choices you make when the world turns against you, and the cost of survival might be higher than you think.